Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden, the guy right across from me. His name is Tim, and this is the Second Legacy, and thank you for stopping by. So, right off the gate, guys, I mean, I'm obviously in a different location, but that doesn't matter because it's Christmas. We're traveling, but freedom has no barriers, and we are going to continue on as usual. And with that, we have got a show you guys are going to love. We're going to get you angry. We're going to get you happy. We're going to make you laugh at the end with the gun grabber segment. This is something that you're going to love going right into this Christmas week, and thank you guys so much for showing up. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn the notification bell on. And with that, Tim, it is Monday. We're getting close to Christmas. How you doing, man?
Better than you. At least I'm not standing outside in a tool shed.
That's true. I'm not in a tool shed. I'm under a really tin roof. I'm in Georgia, so it counts.
Well,
it's okay.
A tin roof makes it a shed, and you're a tool, so tool shed. Wow. Oh, zinger! Wow. Start off early with an insult.
I mean, like, you know what? I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Okay, I take it.
How was suffrage? How was suffrage? Was it nice? Was it a fun thing to see? You old wrinkly freedom-loving fool.
I tell you what, young whippersnapper.
I am. Between the two of us, I'm very young, but it's okay because you have so much wisdom and knowledge, but that's okay. That's why we're here, Tim. That is why the Second Legacy is here, to bridge the two generations, extremely old and the new, all together. It's going to be fantastic. Speaking of which, Tim, did you see the new ad? Did you see it? Did you see the impactful ad for gun control? I think it's going to work. I think it's going to be the one.
Yeah, I mean, even if they don't rally the troops to their cause, you know, their anti-gun grabber group that they like to pander to, they've definitely insulted the rest of America.
Yeah, they did. They outdid themselves, sir.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I don't think they could possibly show any more disdain for their fellow Americans than this one particular ad.
No, I don't think so. I think, in my opinion, they've gone beyond the pale, so to speak, if you will. But you know what? Enough of the setup. Let's get with Dr. Button Pusher. First, let's make sure if he's alive. How you doing, Doctor? You all right?
I got hairy legs.
Yes, he does. Okay, so we're in a good vibe to set happiness in before you guys have blood shoot out of your eyes from this clip. If you haven't seen it, let's get it.
Please, God, save her. Do something. Save her. Please save her. Please.
My thoughts and prayers are with you.
Thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts.
Prayers.
Thoughts and prayers.
All right, Tim. So without getting us banned from YouTube, what are your thoughts?
Well, like I said, this shows the absolute hatred and disdain they have for fellow Americans. It's a lot of extreme wokeism and you know, in my mind, their own biases with regards to race and things like that. It's just your typical woke nonsense. And it's just infuriating.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
That's the exact. I got livid on this one. Now, I mean, I thought they could have gone about a way to figure out how to ban pools for common sense safety a lot easier. I thought this was a little extreme for banning pools, but of course that's not what they're doing.
Right.
So,
well, they don't want to ban pools in suburbia with white families.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. If you're a WASP, watch out. There will be no bodies of water near you.
Christians.
You know, the thing, goodness gracious. It's in full transparency. I know Tim and I are both religious people. This is like personal for both of us because it kind of like just right at us as the targeted audience. So the thing that really bothers me is this entire thing is propagated on a lie. Like you said, like you nailed. Well, it's not the number one cause of murder or death in children in the United States. It's
gang violence is, but we won't want to talk about that.
It's actually gang violence. It's actually what they're referring to is an increase in homicides in teenagers who are tied to gang violence, which are 17, 18, 19, and 20 years old. But we can't talk about that because they really don't have the same punch, you know, because they can't actually access guns legally. So it kind of undermines their point even further. So let's make a big video about a pool. And the thing that bothers me so bad about it, man, is this is playing on some things that are, I mean, we're both parents, and this is a worst nightmare scenario for any parent. Like any parent. You don't like, when you think about pools and you think about kids, like the number one worst thing you could possibly imagine, ocean, pool, lake, this scenario. And it's playing on the fears of people, of which it's built upon a manipulation and a lie. And then the entire dark point is it undermines gun control completely. They're trying to say that thoughts and prayers are obviously not enough. Just do something because thoughts and prayers are worthless. Before you even get into the religious connotation, you're completely circumventing the point that a pool is an inanimate object, just like a gun is an inanimate object. The idea that you're not going to dive in and save somebody is the exact same thing as you're not going to either fund the police or carry a gun yourself to stop those things.
Yep.
And that was the biggest point for me, is they're trying to make this big, grandiose, dramatic point about thoughts and prayers. And, oh, I got to mow my lawn. I really hope it works out. That's not really what you're conveying. What you're really conveying is you're doing nothing. It's just,
well, it's the typical emotional nonsense they always pull, right?
Yeah.
Their entire argument is based on emotion. So you start off with very strong imagery of a child falling into a pool and drowning and laying there at the bottom of the pool, which they show. Then the mother drops to her knees in an attempt to mock Christianity. Instead of saving her daughter, she drops her knees and says, "Oh, please, Lord, save my child," knowing full well that Christian faith doesn't teach that. You just sit idly by and ask God for help.
Not at all.
Right? That's not what Christianity teaches. So it is an affront to Christianity. It's a direct assault on Christians, and it's a direct assault on, I mean, just the family just sitting there, right? They're mocking that family, even though the family's fictitious, but they're mocking actual families that have lost children in swimming pool accidents.
In the same way.
And
So
it is just infuriating to see this entire shtick being played out with, and this goes to the point that they don't care. There's only certain people's children they care about. It ain't yours if you're watching this and if you own a gun. They care maybe about their children, but I kind of doubt that too, because they'll just go out and wholesale support the slaughter of 800,000 plus children a year in the United States. But if the child survives the gauntlet of abortion, then now all of a sudden we care about them and we don't want them drowning in a pool. It's just so infuriating. It's such a lie.
It's about the children. Because it's about the children. The thing, Tim, about this, and while I hate this part of the, how do I say that properly? This part of the liberal ethos of gun control, or any of their main points, is the ends justify the means consistently. You see this over and over and over again. Sure, we broke a few eggs, but we had to make this omelet. Sure, we offended those people, but we had to make the point. Because after all, we are so pure, and we are so virtue signaling, and we know what's right, and they just don't. So we've got to shake them awake. It's just this.
Yeah, that's what it is.
It's this element of superiority of we're obviously right. And so if we just mock thoughts and prayers, even though a majority of the country is religious in one form or the other, if we just mock the idea of a deity or a superior power in the universe, well, obviously they'll see our point. And it's based on this hubris that is only found on the left. I'm sorry, it is only found on the left.
Yeah, I mean, just watching that video, even if you support what they're saying, you have to look at that video and go, "This is pretty hateful towards a whole lot of Americans."
This
just
is
outright
gross.
Insulting,
right? This is pretty gross, right? Yeah. And it's the I'm the most, and this is probably the best way to sum up what I'm trying to describe. I'm the most inclusive and most loving person on the planet, unless you disagree with me, in which case eat crap and die.
Right.
And it's just like, wow, you guys are so loving. So loving. Let's play the video again. Goodness.
Yeah, they are. They're the party of love and peace and
so
kumbaya, holding hands when they're not burning cities for years on end and smashing stores, looting nationally, running crime up. Other than that, these are generally good people.
Exactly. But Tim, they were mad. They had a lot of frustration. You have to understand, they were cold. It was winter coming. They needed warmth. I mean, they had insurance, Tim. You should have thought this through before you said that statement, because obviously you didn't. It's so mind-boggling.
So what do we call it when they take a violent criminal and turn them loose on the streets hours after they're captured so they can go out and reoffend? It's like they don't ever want to talk about that. We have thoughts and prayers on one side. Well, what's the other side? What do you call it when you're out there actively putting violent people back on the street due to your far left lunacy? and your stupid politics.
Tuesday. We call that Tuesday in some cities. That's what we call that. Yeah, dude, it's just this was so far beyond the pale of, and it shows you more than their point that they were trying to show. And that's one of the things that the left does, man. When that mask slips, and we're talking about gun controllers, but it's also kind of tied to the left because they're kind of one of the same in some areas. But when that mask slips, man, it's ugly when they show you what's behind that mask. It is not pretty. But the last thing that I wanted to say on this, and before we move on, is the thing that they're not drawing into the conclusion here in their attempt to mock everything that the opposite side would hold dear, or at least a lot of Americans would. They're disproving their point completely, because if you look at carrying a gun, the impetus behind carrying a gun is not, I want to be awesome. The carrying of a gun is usually facilitated by some sort of need for protection and security, which is why you see gun buying at an all-time high for minorities across the board, which in this video is ironic. Then you've got carrying, you've got ownership of homes. The population is not buying what they're selling. There is a disparity between what they're selling and what reality is. And the reason that you carry guns is for your own protection, so you can be that answer when something needs to happen. The entire point is they're saying, oh, we just rely on thoughts and prayers and that's it. You're bringing to highlight the point of why we carry guns. It's so that you don't sit there and do nothing, but their entire point is you're not doing what I want, so you're doing nothing. And I think that's a very important thing to bring into the table.
Yeah. Meanwhile, they, block every attempt at security at schools and everything else.
100%.
The common sense stuff isn't so common nor sensical. They're idiots, and they create the mess that they're complaining about through the application of their own far left lunacy policies. If you take a look at crime and where it takes place, and you take a look at the violence in America, it's almost always in Democratic pockets where they have far left policies in place, gun bans and criminal release programs where you just basically go out, commit murder, and get released on your own recognizance 12 hours later.
Yeah.
And it's mostly gang violence. If you take gang violence out of the equation, we're the most peaceful first world nation in the world.
Yep. And it's ironic,
but they won't talk about it.
The new talking point is, well, the southern states are so much more violent. Where are those coming from? Cities within the Republican states that are run by Democrats.
Yep.
Come on, guys. Come on. We're better than this. But you know what, Tim? I think we put a really good bow on that. We didn't get too banned. We didn't get too close into the banned territory.
No.
We kept you in the 90s, not the 80s. That was good. That was great. But I think it's time to move on.
I didn't go full 80s. I didn't.
No, you didn't. No one wants Tim to go full 80s. Like when Tim goes full Nirvana, just make sure
90s.
Record's not on. That's all I'm going to say.
Full Rat, full Motley Crue, full Cinderella, full. That's 80s. Gosh, you Zoomers.
No, hold on. Whoa. Hold on a second.
Well, they always call me a boomer, which is wrong. So I'm going to call you a Zoomer, which is wrong.
Listen. I'm not amazingly proud of my generation, which was I barely snuck into the millennials, but because we're kind of worthless. But we're certainly not Zoomers. That's rude. That's rude with that is because Rat, total music side table. Rat. What'd you say? Cinderella,
Motley
Crue, all great bands, fantastic bands.
Of course,
love them all. But enough of that. So now, Tim, this is gonna make you salty. I feel like salty Tim's coming because we got to talk about the SCOTUS saying no to the Seventh Circuit about an AR ban. We got to talk about it.
Okay. I saw Davey Hogg boasting about this. And offering us, by the way, thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts and prayers. What are the odds, Tim? Who
Yes.
would have seen that coming?
Right.
Goodness gracious. It's like it comes full circle and these people are predictable easily and we are going to defeat them into the ground. Anyway, beyond that, Tim, let's take a look at what's going on here. Dr. Button Pusher, this is number 2. The Supreme Court refuses to block an Illinois law banning some high-power semi-automatic weapons. Wow. Thanks for throwing some in there. You could have just said all. It would have been more accurate. But here's what actually happened. This is the end of last week, Tim. This is around the Seventh Circuit decision. This is number 3. Washington, AP. The Supreme Court on Thursday declined to put on hold a new Illinois law that would ban high-power semi-automatic weapons like the one used in the parade in Chicago. The justices did not comment on refusing an emergency appeal from the gun right group and others. And here's the backstory before we break this down. This number 4. Last month, a 3-judge panel of the 7th District U.S. Court of Appeals voted 2-1 in favor of the law, refusing a request by gun rights groups to block it. So, basically, Tim, where that puts us is the SCOTUS has said we're not intervening under an emergency injunction request because it still basically needs to stand as is. What are your thoughts right out the gate? And then we'll kind of postulate on what this could mean.
Yeah. So when I saw this, I mean, do I wish they would have offered the injunction? Yeah, but I also know how the Supreme Court operates. They wouldn't.
Right.
It would be completely out of the norm if they did. Doesn't matter if it's Second Amendment or any other constitutional issue. They tend to let the lower courts run the course before they intervene. Typically.
Correct.
So
typically, yeah.
So when I saw this, I'm like, oh, well, but then of course the gun grabbers like Davey Hogg and the rest of them were just, acting like they won some major victory in the Supreme Court.
Correct.
And it's like, no, let's see how this plays out, guys. You might not be so happy here shortly. So.
Right. And that's the key point, because it's easy to get defeated on saying, man, they didn't block AR. It's so easily unconstitutional. Correct. It is so easily unconstitutional. But remember, again, Tim, you said it so well, how the Supreme Court works is the key point here. Because if you remember something very recent in our history and you have a pretty close hand to it, the bump stock ban, well, that went a very similar path to this one. You had 2 circuit courts come to opposing opinions. I believe it was the 5th and the 6th Circuit. They came to opposing opinions, and then the SCOTUS took it up. But the SCOTUS wasn't taking it up until there were 2 different circuit courts saying a different thing.
Right. They let it run its course. So I was part of one of the lawsuits that Gun Owners of America brought. I was, a plaintiff in that suit suing the government for their actions. And we immediately went to the Supreme Court when the rule took effect. We immediately went to the Supreme Court and requested an injunction, as did other groups that had filed similar court cases. And we all were told no. And then the lower court decides, yeah, this is unconstitutional. And as of right now, at least I think it's the 5th Circuit's jurisdiction in that area, they're manufacturing and selling bump stocks again and have been for some time.
Right.
So the Supreme Court's decision in not giving an injunction is consistent with their past decisions and past behavior. So it is not any sign as to what their actual opinions may be on the matter, as evidenced by the bump stock stuff. Right.
Correct.
So
that's exactly right. Because I mean, and that's something to understand. Like, while we're breaking this down, understand what they've done in the past. I mean, not only the bump stocks, look back even more recently, look in the 2nd Circuit, what they've done with the sensitive places laws out of New York. They didn't intervene on that one. You've got the AR ban from the 7th Circuit. They haven't intervened. However, the more things that build energy and the more obvious issues that pop up across the nation, they intervene. They just took up the bump stock ban. They just retook up the Chevron deference case. They are taking up cases, but they're not just issuing out injunctions across the board. Now, I'll be 100% honest with you. This one does kind of chap my butt a little bit, this part. They're very quick to issue injunctions that favor the ATF, particularly when they're losing. And we have seen that in 2 different cases. That does irritate me a little bit. They're very quick to issue injunctions for that, but not for the other side.
It seems like the government always sides with the government, at least in the beginning.
Weird.
Yeah. Like the government protecting itself? I wouldn't expect that.
They would never. Governments have never done that, Tim. Ever. Except all of them.
Yeah.
It's just, that's kind of where we're at. It's just, you have to, at least in my opinion on this one, you've got to see more AR bans work up through different circuits at different points across the nation. And then I think you will see the eventuality of these bans getting put in the Supreme Court.
Right.
Because
especially
you're not
if you
going to necessarily get it from one.
Yeah. Especially if you get conflicting decisions between the circuit courts, which is a strategy that certainly we've used in the pro-gun community, right? Filing suits in different jurisdictions under different circuit courts, because that could potentially give us that conflict that we're looking for, so we can get the Supreme Court to hear it.
Correct. So it's just it's a strategy fight, which can be extremely annoying and irritating to wait, but it is reality. That's kind of where it all goes.
These things are always chess games, right? It's always
absolutely.
a chess game. It's never over quick. And a lot of the positioning and stuff that takes place is just that positioning, trying to better your potential outcome, looking to get what
Correct.
it is that you want from the court, right? So you have to play these
Mm-hmm.
games, if you will, but it's just how the system is structured and how it works.
Yeah. I mean, so what do you think? You think, I mean, at least my hypothesis on this one, I think it's an interesting, just to play it out, like war game it out. I bet you're going to see the Washington bands get up there. And then I bet you're going to see, let's see, you got Washington, and I think Colorado might get up there too. I don't know. I don't think New York and Connecticut, I don't see those getting up there because they've done that for a while. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know which ones it would be.
It's so tough to predict what these courts will do, especially the SCOTUS. So
yeah, that's true.
And keep in mind, folks,
anyway,
the SCOTUS only hears a very small number of cases it's presented with every year anyway. So
yeah, I think it's like 3% or 2%.
It's really low.
It's a very small number. But we'll keep you updated on that one, guys. But right now, Tim, you've been chomping at the bit. I've seen you. I'm at G3. It's G3 time.
It's G3 time. All right. So
it's G3 time.
We have a couple of things here. One of my favorites. So there's a number of different anti-gun groups on X. So it keeps us, it keeps us pretty busy with content for the Goofy Gun Grabber segment here on Second Legacy. And 97% is one of those goofy gun grabbers. And if we could throw up number 8, Doc, here we have a post where they're pushing for more universal background checks, right? So the overwhelming majority of American gun owners and non-gun owners alike agree that we must pass red flag laws and universal background checks. Why don't our leaders listen? And 2A History, a pro-gun group on X, had a beautiful comeback that was so perfect.
Yep.
And they said, well, maybe you should run a poll. And then they screenshot a poll they literally ran, which they got ratioed in their own poll. Which you can see 82.5% of the people said, no, we don't support that stuff.
Right. It's so good, dude. And 200,000 people saw it. 10,484 votes. And you had that big of 82.5%.
Yeah. That's a larger sampling than most professional polls in terms of how many people.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The professional ones do 1,000 to 1,500 of registered voters. Right. 100%. That is so damning.
I have to throw this out there. The poll obviously is not scientific. But it's a poll.
You logged in 10,000 times, Tim, don't I? You have 10,000 accounts.
I wrote a script. You
do. Yeah, you're so good at that.
But
it turns out that it's you're gaming the system like always, Tim.
Here, I'll date myself. I wrote a script in Tandy Basic.
Oh wow!
Does anybody even know what that is? Comment down below.
No. Is that like Pong? Oh man, I don't even
it's a little before Palm by about a decade.
Tim's over here. He's like, "Do you want to play a game?"
Pretty much, yes. With the old acoustic coupling modem. Put it, yeah.
Who was the? It was Ferris Bueller and the guy who played Ferris Bueller, and who was the girl in that video? In that movie, the thermonuclear war, or whatever, it doesn't matter.
Katie Alley or something like that. I can't remember.
Something like that.
I can't remember the names.
Whatever,
of those
doesn't matter.
Actors.
So many squirrels. But that was a movie from the 80s.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good one. I think I love that when you actually get people and you actually ask them a question. Hey, do you want universal background checks? Everyone's like, heck no. But when these gun controllers get polling, they're like 97.99% of the public say they want no freedoms at all. It's like, I don't think that's right.
But this goes to another point you've made here on the channel before. Look, we don't have a democracy, folks. In a democracy, 51% would be able to govern over the other 49%, right? Mm-hmm. So if 51% of the people voted to ban all guns, then the other 49% would just have to suffer under those rules, right? But we don't have a democracy. Correct. We have what's called a republic. It tries to balance things a little bit more, giving a voice to those that are in the minority sometimes. Now, I'm not saying we're in the minority because I don't believe that we are, but that's why we have a republic. That's why we have electoral college. That's why we do things the way we do here. So when they tell you that we have a democracy, they're prepping you to embrace the concept of a democracy. I don't support democracy any more than I support communism. It is not a valid method of government where it preserves rights, because it doesn't. Because 51% could bring back slavery. Much more difficult in a republic.
And that would be bad.
And that would be
bad. I'm just going to say it right here on the Second Legacy. That would be a negative. A net negative. Not good. Not a good look.
All right. So shall we move on to number 10?
Next, Tim?
Yes.
Oh, I'm so excited. Is it number 10? Okay.
This one's good, folks. This one is good. All right, number 10, delicious. Doc. So this is from NMPGV. NM is short for New Mexico PGV. I forget what that is. Something anti-gun, I'm sure. Anyway, so they posted this, and they've just been getting roasted on X for this post.
So good.
Rightfully so. So here's the post. They posted a picture of all these deer rifles and shotguns, like hunting firearms, that they demilled, right? Well, they said dismantled. So here's their post. Picture are unwanted firearms from one household in Farmington, New Mexico. Our gun buyback was canceled by the city, but local residents asked us to show up anyway. So we spent today dismantling guns house by house. So they dismantled them. And what they don't say in this post, they said elsewhere. So let's take a look at what else they had to say. Number 11, Doc.
Yes.
So here they post kind of more of the details on how they operate when they dismantle firearms. And of course, here's my response to them up top, which kind of gives away where I'm going with this. So their comment, which I responded to, is, we have no idea, when they were posed with the question, we have no idea, but wish we could partner with, we wish they could partner with us on these buybacks. We don't take in broken guns, and we don't offer cash for guns, but groceries and gas. That's key here. In addition, the guns are dismantled on site. Dismantled, not legally demilled. They're still guns on site.
Are they? Okay.
And then forged into gardening tools by RFK charter high school students. So, and then of course, and there's more to it, but then of course you take a look at my comments above that. It's like, here they admit to one, taking the guns from the owners and giving them to another party, which is a transfer. Okay. Plus they offered a barter, which is trading something of value for something of value, which is a gun, which is technically illegal in the state of New Mexico, because they have a law in New Mexico that says you must go through a background check to do a private transfer
Universal
between individuals.
checks.
Right?
Yeah.
And then exchanging something of value for the guns they illegally took possession of under New Mexico state law. Oops. And they admitted to it right there on X. Now they're out there trying to say, well, we didn't do anything. We didn't take possession of anything. It was just a bunch of metal and wood that we took to the school. Well, if we throw up number 13, Doc, this is from ATF, how to properly destroy a firearm. First, it shows you using an oxyacetylene torch, not a bandsaw, which is clearly what they used. You can see the bandsaw cuts on the receivers. It must be at least a 1/4 inch of material destroyed by the torch. So a bandsaw doesn't get anywhere near 1/4 inch of material destroyed. Must be made at angles and completely sever the receiver at least 3 critical positions, depending on model, which clearly they didn't do. There weren't 3 cuts.
Right.
And so they break it down, showing you further. So what does this mean? If it wasn't demilled per ATF regulations, they're still guns. So not only do they illegally transfer guns under New Mexico state law and transfer the guns to a school, and students, children, didn't we just watch a video about saving the children from drowning in pools and gun violence? Yet they're taking guns to school in violation of, most likely, of laws within that jurisdiction. And
federal. I'm pretty sure federal.
Yeah. Well, again, it depends on some jurisdictions, because some jurisdictions have changed the laws so that you can carry firearms like into parking lots and things like that, just not into school property or whatever.
That's fair.
So,
that's fair.
Yeah. And this just smacks of something else that happened in history. Let's bring up number 12, Doc. This is Karen Mallard, a Democrat from VA. She famously posted a video of herself online dismantling, because it isn't demilling, an AR-15 by cutting the barrel.
Great work. She's doing great work.
So what did she do here, folks? Class, we're taking suggestions. Comment down below. She made an illegal SBR, folks. These gun grabbers are out there breaking the gun laws that they advocate for, but they think they're immune to prosecution because they're on the side of, well, we want to ban them. We don't like them. Disregard the fact that we just illegally shortened them into SBRs. We illegally transferred them. We did all these illegal things. Doesn't matter, because we're on your side, government. We hate them too.
I'm pretty sure that's a $250,000 fine and how many years in prison?
10 years. 10? And she got investigated by the ATF. I don't know what the outcome is. I'll have to look that up, but I know the ATF started an investigation against her. And who knows, maybe NMPGV will get an investigation launched against them. Now, I'm not reporting these people, okay? People had said in the comments, why don't you report them to ATF? I don't agree with the gun laws, folks, and I'm not going to jam up even people I dislike. If you want to report them, you do your thing. I'm not going to judge you, but I'm not going to report people. It's just I'm mocking them online. And they're feeling the heat. They're panicking because they haven't posted in like 20 hours, and they're making all these denial posts. We didn't do anything illegal. It's like, well,
yes, you did.
Actually, you did.
Yes, you did, Cupcake. Maybe you should look at the laws that you're trying to expound upon before you just go ahead and virtue signal on the internet. It's always a bad look. It never works out.
They don't know
Never
anything
works
about
out.
guns. The gun grabbers don't know anything about them. From the flippy thing that goes up to barrel shrouds to getting 100 rounds in the chamber, they don't know anything about them. They just know they don't want you having them. And they'll go out and even break laws.
But they cut it in half. It's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
It's
look at all the
dismantled.
lives they saved.
Pretty sure
Yeah.
the word dismantle doesn't appear anywhere in the NFA or the Gun Control Act of 1968.
Exactly. But if you look at this, Tim, and that's kind of like a last little thought on this, the picture of number 10, when they've broken these things in half and dismantled them, these are all like old style shotguns. They're 22 hunting rifles. Let's see, like the old little semi-automatic 22s. I mean, like, I don't see anything in here with a caliber, either a shotgun or a 22. I don't see anything larger. Do you?
Yeah, that gun laying right there on the top looks like, what is it, 742 Remington? One of the, like, I have one in 30-06.
On the very top?
Yeah, the very top. That looks like it was actually a rifle.
Okay.
The others are 22s. They even cut through the scope with the bandsaw. I mean,
listen, those scopes are
they're
weapons
22
of war.
shotguns, and they're all hunting firearms. None of these are
absolutely.
assault weapons or weapons of war and their classifications. These are the ones that they presumably don't have a problem with until they post images like this.
And broke the law.
And broke the law in the process, yes. So anyway, I just love exposing the hypocrisy of these goons, and you know, I just love the fact that they're getting ratioed in their own posts on X. X has definitely become a free speech site, and if you don't have an account over there, pop in, make an account, and follow us and other pro gun groups, and then follow some of the gun grabbers so you can keep yourself up on all the goofy stuff they're out there doing. So, all right, folks, thanks for watching. We'll talk to you guys soon.